My guess is the state looks at it and says, okay, worst case scenario,
Yeah.
do they have the authorization to borrow the money that's actually needed?
Correct. And we think that those two sources that we had relied upon initially are very solid sources that frankly, I think should help us qualify. It's one of those things where you almost feel like, there's the rules written as they are, and this is something that if you take a good look at it, then whether there's an exception or something like that could be made. So we actually did enlist our state representative, Marcus Vaughn. We also talked to our former state rep, Sean Dooley, to ask for help here, and went all the way up to the governor's office to try to get an exception. And we're told that there, as much sense as our case makes, there was not an exception that could be made, and so this was the only path forward.
So is a majority vote needed or a 2/3 majority?
2/3.
And what happens if you end up one vote short?
Essentially, if we don't have an increased authorization, then we won't qualify for the state revolving funds. And those state revolving funds, it's essentially a 0% or near 0%, or basically subsidized or much lower than market value rate that we would be getting. So we believe on at least 10 million of the borrowing, we would get at 0%. The rest could be at 0. It could be something higher than that, but it would be below market. If this additional borrowing authorization does not pass, the entire project would have to go out to market. I know rates are just maybe starting to go down. There's some chatter about that happening, so it wouldn't be as bad as maybe it would have been 6 months ago, but it's going to cost the town an awful lot more. So there's really, we've decided as a community, this is the path we're taking. Like I said, the plan doesn't change. This is just the hokey pokey we have to go through. They say, go back to the town meeting, we go back to the town meeting. Get another 3 million, we get another 3 million, and then we're back on the original track.
If town meeting authorizes an additional 3
Sure.
million, can it only be used for that individual
It can only be
project?
used. The way we're
Okay.
doing this is we're amending the original motion that was passed in October of '24 to increase the number of bonding authorization for the water treatment project.
So those are the key words.
Correct.
And even when we've had other projects where we've authorized borrowing or we've authorized money towards a project and maybe all that money wasn't used, actually what we did back in October was we took pieces of multiple projects and the town had to revote to apply those funds to this project, which would reduce the amount. So there's a path in some fashion for that to happen, but it's a town meeting vote.
The question being asked of residents on September 10th is, will you allow the town to increase borrowing by
Increased borrowing authorization.
authorization up to
Yeah,
$3 million?
the headline is we have zero intention of using that money. What we're trying to do is qualify for 0% loan and save the town, $10, $11, $12 million over the next 30 years. It possibly more because there's a principal forgiveness of something that'll be north of $800,000, probably just south of $900,000 that we would also qualify for by getting the SRF funds.
This pretty much has to pass.
Pretty much has to pass, or it's definitely going to be a major step backwards in terms of the financial strength of the town that we've come so far in building. We have asked for and received an extension on this because we've already kind of gone past the original point of no return to get approval for this. They've been gracious enough to extend the deadline to September 19th. We set our special town meeting at September 10th. Just unfortunate how things worked out, but there's a clear path forward, and I think the rationale as to why you would increase the authorization and the money that it will save the town, I don't want to say it's a no-brainer, but it's certainly, if you're set on moving forward with the project, you certainly want it to be as inexpensive as possible.